Welcome to the show. I'm Danella, and here's what's happening now. Tales from the backseat. You know, it's amazing what you can learn from the backseat of a car. I'll tell you what I learned yesterday. And speaking of yesterday, family members, friends, and fans celebrated the life of Prodigy. I'll tell you what I learned at the service that I will remember and take with me the rest of my life. But right now, let's get into political pop. Now, the tweets, they're frantic, they're manic, they're misogynistic, right? These tweets are. And they're also keeping us from focusing on what is important. And what is important is this travel ban. So let's talk about the travel ban. It went into effect yesterday. I'll let you know who is affected. So who is affected? We're talking about people from 6 mainly Muslim countries, and they're including Iran, Libya, Syria, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen, and all refugees that are awaiting approval to get into this country right here. Now, in order to get in, you need what they're calling a credible claim of a bona fide relationship. Now, it has to be with either an entity, think school, job, or a close family member. And boy, do they break down what a close family member includes. You know, in your mind, you're thinking, right, a husband, a wife, children. Yes. But here's who's not included. Who's not included are grandparents, grandchildren's children, aunt, uncle, nieces, nephews, cousins, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, or any other extended family member. And it's interesting because as of right now, Hawaii filed a motion to stop the travel ban based on what is considered close. They feel, I agree with them, that grandparents are close family members. Shoot, my grandmother helped raise me. So yeah, I considered her my mom growing up. So I definitely agree. But keep in mind, you have to try not to get sidetracked from all of there's a lot to get sidetracked from because, honestly, these tweets and horrible things that he constantly says about women, but they can distract us from the truth. And that is your political pop. Now let's get into this tales from the back seat. It's so weird. I feel like I have to do this regularly on the show. And the truth is, I've spent a lot of time in the back seat of drivers' cars. When I lived in New York and worked for BET, we always had car service, and I loved, especially also in New York, took a lot of cabs. I loved always talking to drivers and finding out things about them. And then now, man, who doesn't know an Uber driver or a Lyft driver? And you'd be surprised at the things that they tell you. So here's what I learned yesterday. So I'm in the car and I'm driving with a Russian driver. He's a little bit older. I want to say, he's older, maybe late 40s, 50, maybe. So anyway, we're riding around. And so he starts talking about, women in America. They say how hard it is. And he just talked about how entitled Americans are. And I can agree with him on some regards. He says, for example, in America, you feel entitled to a cell phone, a car. And he said in Russia, a cell phone is a true liberty. It's a true luxury. Sorry, not a liberty, a luxury to have a cell phone in Russia. But what he told me was, American women, we talk a lot about the salary disparity where, men get paid more than women, and we're very upset about it. Rightfully so. If I'm doing the same job, I want to get paid the same money. But he says, man, you women in America don't know how good you have it. He said in Russia, they put in newspapers, the boss is looking for a receptionist. He said it's written black and white. It'll say she has to be this height, this weight, usually between 18 and 20 years old, and perform sexual favors. If I had pearls in the backseat, I would have clutched them and said, what? But instead, I literally said, what? Are you kidding me? He said, no, I promise you. He said, no, it's true. He said, the businessmen in Russia have 2 secretaries. The first one is, I don't even know what the order is. One of them will say, I don't know who's most important, but one of them will be a legit secretary. It could be a man or a woman, older. That person really does the job. He said the other person is usually about 20 years old. And in addition to getting coffee, she also gives pleasures. And that it's written in your job description and it's very well known and it's accepted. Now, I'm going to be honest. I've never been to Russia. I do have some Russian friends, and now I have to literally ask them. I have not had time to really investigate this, but he said, ask anyone, this is normal. So I'm going to encourage you to ask your Russian friends and find out, is this normal? Heck, I need to ask my Russian sorority sister, is this normal? Like, yeah, that's what he says. And that's this week's Tales from the Backseat. If you have tales, you can let me know. You can put them in the comment section, or you can even email me at Danella@DanellaNow.com. Now, yeah, this week's topic, I'm actually just getting back from New York. Yesterday I went up not only to pay my respects to Prodigy and show my love and support for him, but then also support my friend Marvis, who's also one of Prodigy's managers. And it was, when I say it was a truly a celebration of life, it was a true celebration of life. And what I want to share with you is just this one element that I always like to give what is important to me that can help make life better. So here's what I want to share with you. One of the things that you got immediately from this service is that Prodigy just had an amazing camp of friends and family around him. All of his business partners. It was really nice to kind of just hear how a lot of them would say that they were thankful that they had the opportunity to just, tell him regularly how important he was to him. Right, so that's a great takeaway. Give people their roses while they're still here. But I'm going to tell you the most prolific speech for me was when Minister Farrakhan got up to speak, and he said a lot. But one of the things that stood out the most was this idea of living forever. And he talked about Prodigy, and he talked about, in addition, loving, serving God, but to live forever, you must be in servitude to others. And I talked about this last week. Do you remember I was talking about, how my son likes to pick up trash and put it in trash to make the playground cleaner? But, it's bigger than that. And it's that idea of we live forever when we help others. We live forever. We're in their memories. When we are there, we do the most that we can for others. We're there. And that's what I want to share with you today. The other thing I want to share with you, because what was also heartfelt for me, was when 50 Cent got up to speak, and it was heartfelt. One, I mean, just to see the care and the love that he had for his friend, but really it was one thing that he said. He said that, it was important for him to stand up, even though it was still difficult for him to process losing his friend, but he didn't want to let the moment pass him by. He said that when Chris Lighty passed away, he was attending the funeral but wasn't able to say something. And he said, even if I don't, because, you're looking at any service, you're looking for people to come up and help you just feel some kind of comfort about what you're going through. Honestly, that's a lot of times what we're feeling, because it's just hard. And even though he didn't necessarily, I guess, have the words, I don't even think he knew. He was just talking from the heart, but I don't think he even knew the power that he had by just sharing that he seized the moment to just come up and say anything he could say about his friend. And that's what I, again, want to encourage you guys to do, is really not letting these opportunities pass us by, because so often we have fights with one another. Yeah, I'm about to get real, because I literally had a disagreement with my husband today over a can of beans. Yeah, we had a disagreement over the can of beans. Who's going to get the can of beans for the baby? You get the can of beans, blah, 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 blah. But it's like so often in life we let petty, small arguments divide us, right? And moments pass us by, and we don't seize the moment. So 50 talked about seizing the moment, and I want to share one other thing with you. Yeah, man, it was a lot of people that were friends, Queenbridge representing their friends. And they talked about, even in Prodigy, in his autobiography, he talked about some of the turmoil that developed, between him and his friends. And some of it was based around money. And so, yeah, it was just nice to see some of the people stand up and say, I just feel grateful that I was able to come to him, and thank him just as a friend for his friendship, what he's done, how important he is, and to say, I'm sorry. You know, I have years on me now. I see that money is petty. Like I heard that a lot at this service. You know, money comes and goes, but your friendships, your relationships, that's what matters. That's what matters. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, because some of you may be going through, I'm being really honest. A can of beans, I usually don't even eat canned food, man. A can of beans, but that's true. That was a petty argument that we had today. And I want to encourage you to look at your loved ones. And if you're going through something that's petty, think about the idea that, our time is just not guaranteed. You know, and if we look at Prodigy's life, this is how another way he can live on forever is lessons that we learn from him. You know, and he really was on borrowed time. He had the worst form of sickle cell, and sickle cell anemia alone is bad, but he had the worst form of it. And so a lot of people are saying that it's a miracle that he made it to 42. That's a miracle, you know. But one of the things he did was, you know, really try to help others, really be there for others. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. I hear my nanny coming back right now with my son, so I'm going to have to wrap the show up. Next week on the show, though, I'm going to teach you how to be charismatic. Yeah, that's our alarm saying the front door. So don't try and sneak up on our house. Soon you'll hear my son coming in talking. But yeah, next we're going to talk about how to be charismatic. And there's a recipe and a formula for it. So I'm going to help you get it. In the meantime, seize the day. Please squash old beefs. And service to others. That's how you live on forever. And I'm getting a call. Goodness gracious. This is legit. All right. So everything is saying I have to go. And I'll see you next week.